Hey everyone, welcome to Authenticity Unleashed. I'm your host, Pam Rader, and I'm excited to be here with you today as we dive into topics that help you live your most authentic life. I want to talk today about a concept that's integral to our personal and professional growth, the journey toward our goals, and who we become in the process. When we set our sights on a goal, whether it's landing a dream job or starting a business or achieving a personal milestone, it's not merely the end result that drives us. We sometimes think it is, and we get caught up in the focus on the goal. But in reality, if you look back at any goal that you've achieved in your life, the real win is who you had to become along the way, the challenges that you overcame, the lessons that you learned, the person that you became in the pursuit of that goal. Think about it. When you set out to achieve something new, you don't just magically arrive at your destination. We grow, we change, we learn things about ourselves and the world around us that we never knew before. The process of bringing our goals to life shapes us into a better version of ourselves, one step at a time. Now, let me tell you, every single new level of my business or my personal development or my relationships that I enter into has required that I become an upgraded version of myself. I actually have to step into a new identity, the identity of someone that has that next level that I've worked toward. In order to step into new levels of success in our lives, we often need to confront and overcome some limiting beliefs and old habits that hold us back. And a lot of times we don't love that. One of the biggest stumbling blocks I see with people on their way to goals, something that keeps them bouncing back to the same place over and over and over again, and something I think is so important for us to take a look at today, to pull apart, to dive into, is our inability to take feedback. Our inability to take feedback. This is so pervasive. People are defensive, they're prickly, they're resistant. Maybe rightfully so, because hasn't feedback been called constructive criticism for a long time? Think about that. Such an oxymoron. What's constructive about criticizing someone? So, before we move forward with what feedback is, maybe we have to transform our understanding that it's not constructive criticism. It's simply a reflection of how you or your behavior or actions occurs for other people. It's like someone holding up a mirror and saying, "Hey, I don't know if you intended to look this way, but this is how it looks from my angle." And that is valuable information. Because to bring your dreams to life, you actually are going to need to be a different version of yourself. What? What do you mean a different version of yourself? I've actually had some of my great clients who I love and adore say, "But Pam, what if I like myself? I really like myself. I don't want to be a different version of myself. Can't I stay the same and achieve my goals?" Well, the answer is absolutely not. You can keep the great parts of yourself. For sure you can, but there will be parts of you that you have to let go of. There will be parts of you that you have to alter, because consider this. If the current version of you knew how to create your goals, you would have already achieved them. If the current version of you knew how to unlock the next level in your life, you would have already done it. But you didn't. And so guess what? There's learning to do, new standards to uphold, and parts of your current self and your current belief systems that need refining or letting go before you can achieve your dreams. What you know up to now got you this far, but it's what you don't know that's going to take you to the next level. So we have to make friends with being in the listening for what we don't know that we don't know. And that often comes to us in the realm of feedback. So if we understand this principle that, we've got to alter ourselves in some way and we have to have some direction with that, and we understand this principle, why do we get so defensive when others give us feedback? Why do we defend the way that we are instead of looking at feedback as a roadmap to the next level of our lives? Because if you really want to become the best version of yourself and achieve your goals, taking some feedback will be imperative. So let's talk about how we can learn how to take it. Because the cost of not taking it is a little bit high. Imagine receiving feedback as receiving a key to unlock a door that you didn't even know existed. What you didn't know that you didn't know. It's an opportunity to grow and learn and push yourself towards your goals. It can be uncomfortable, but the rewards on the other side of that discomfort can be profound. Now, to navigate this journey, you actually have to start getting mindful around your reaction to feedback. You want to notice if you're getting defensive right away. Ask yourself, what the heck am I defending? Am I just defending an old version of myself? Ask yourself if there's truth in the feedback. And if there is, what are you going to do about it? Now, I know some of you right now are going, yeah, well, I'm not really defensive. I'm pretty good at taking feedback. But if you don't think that you're defensive or that you deflect feedback, let me give you a couple of examples to see if they resonate with you. Because I'm a firm believer that we never arrive. And even if you're pretty good, there's probably some room for tweaking. So let's just say, your partner says to you, you seem a bit overwhelmed. And your immediate response internally is an expletive. And outwardly, you say, no, I'm not. I'm just busy, but I've got it. Or your boss says, hey, I really like the work you did on this project, but I can see some places that need tweaking. And you respond by clamming up, shutting down, getting internally defensive, and then telling your coworkers how your boss wouldn't recognize good work if it hit him in the face. Or a friend reaches out to you and with some difficulty says, I don't appreciate always being the one to have to reach out to you. I feel kind of ignored. And you respond with, well, you have no idea how busy I am. None of those reactions will improve your relationships or your work situation. None of those reactions will lead you toward a better version of yourself, the version of yourself that unlocks the next level of your life. So one would think it would be valuable to learn how to take full advantage of the feedback that we receive as an opportunity to continue to move the needle forward in our lives. I used to get defensive if my husband told me that I was being short with him or snappy. He'd be like, you're being so short. And I'd jump back and say something like, well, if you were paying more attention to me or you weren't being such a jerk, I wouldn't have to be this way, which would then lead to an argument about who's being more of a jerk. And this definitely would not lead me or him closer to our goals as a couple. We as a couple have decided that we're committed to continuing to create an amazing relationship. And we knew we had things to do differently if we wanted to get to the next level in that relationship. So we had a conversation about where we were heading and the new standard we would have to hold to get there. And that included dropping defensiveness and giving and receiving feedback from a place of love. Looking at feedback as simply a reflection of how our actions are occurring for the other person. And if my actions aren't aligning with my highest intentions for the relationship, then it's awesome to have feedback that allows me to get back on track. But what does that look like in real life? Well, you have to be open and curious about the feedback. First, and this is really important, when someone gives you feedback and you feel prickly, just pause. Don't say anything. Take a deep, deep breath and even close your eyes for a second and ask yourself, is this true? Can I see how what that person just said could be true for them? Really take a moment to see it from their perspective. Now, in this instance, when my husband may have said I was snappy to him, had I paused and said, "Is it true?" The answer would have unequivocally been yes. And then I can just clean up my end of the street and say, "I apologize. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I definitely don't want to be snappy with you." So instead of getting defensive, take a step back. Ask yourself, is it true? And then what do I need to do to get back in alignment? Is there an apology owed? Do I need to take ownership here? What do I need to do to make a repair? And then say thank you. Thank you for sharing that with me because that's not how I want to make you feel. It takes courage for people to give you feedback, and it's an opportunity for both parties to grow. So just say thank you. So I want to give you an example of how this works in real life. So a few months ago, I'd been working at our yoga studio and all day, and my husband was preparing dinner to have all my children over for dinner. We were having a big roast beef dinner, and I came home and I noticed that my husband hadn't got any of the vegetables ready, and he seemed to be absent in the yard somewhere. So I just started cooking and getting things ready. When he came into the house, I said, "Hey, I got the vegetables going. I don't know if the roast is in." And he got really prickly and defensive. And he said, "It's not a contest. I said I would make dinner." And I took a deep breath and thought, this is not the time. He's not in a place to receive any feedback about that. We have guests. I'm going to think about it. And I carried on with dinner. But the next day, before we were going out somewhere, I said, "Hey, before we go out, I have something that I need to clear with you. I need to give you some feedback." And here's how I gave the feedback. Yesterday, when you came in from outside and I mentioned that I made the vegetables, it occurred for me like you snapped at me, like you bit my head off when I was just trying to be helpful. And the story I made up in my head about that was that, you didn't appreciate that I was trying to help you. And then I felt resentful. And that's not how I want to feel in our relationship. My husband took a deep breath. He took a moment to see how that could be true for me. And then he answered with this: "I owe you an apology. No one should ever speak to you that way, baby. And I'm so sorry." And immediately, repair is made. We can move on, have a wonderful time together. We can go do whatever we're doing without resentment, without buildup. It's that simple. Now, I say simple, not easy. It takes a little mindfulness, but it's worth practicing. Now, on the other end of the scale, is all feedback relevant? Heck no. Sometimes someone is projecting their own insecurities or experience on you, and their feedback might not be valid. But it doesn't harm you to pause and reflect before responding. Even if the feedback isn't relevant, getting defensive is not helpful. Just say thank you for the feedback and move on. And sometimes we get feedback that's not entirely relevant. But don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Look for the gold. Is there a nugget in there that could help you to move the needle towards your goals? Is there something in there that would help you more accurately align with your highest intentions? Because the cost of getting defensive, folks, get this. The cost of holding on to your defensiveness is actually your dreams. You see, when you defend who you currently are and your current ways of being, you're arguing for your current limitations. And when you argue for your limitations, the prize is that you get to keep them. If you have big dreams, you better get ready to shed old habits, patterns, and ways of being, and holding new standards along the way, which will require that you learn to take some feedback. Now, another reason that we resist feedback is that often it comes as unsolicited advice or criticism from people who've never gone where we're planning to go. And this is where we have to be a little bit discerning. On the journey to your goals, it's imperative. It's so important to surround yourself with people who have a higher level of skill in some areas than you do. And maybe that they've gone further down the path than you have. And that you learn to discern feedback from well meaning but irrelevant advice. So, for instance, if a mentor who'd gone further in business than me gave me some feedback about how I'm running my business, I'm probably going to give that a lot of consideration. But if my dad gave me feedback on my social media from my yoga studio, even though he used to be a businessman, I probably wouldn't put too much stock in his feedback because he doesn't know anything about yoga. He's never owned a yoga studio and he knows very little about social media. But even so, there's no need to get defensive about it. If I take a minute to discern where the feedback is coming from, I can just say thank you and then either implement it or disregard it. No defense necessary. Most people, when they give you advice or feedback, are well meaning. They don't always have the right answers. But by not first considering if there's a little bit of truth, and if so, how you can apply it, you might miss some little nuggets. So the next time someone gives you feedback, attribute good intentions. Not everyone's out to get you, folks. Sometimes people are really earnestly trying to help. Not everyone's trying to make you look foolish. Not everyone's trying to one-up you. What if you assumed others were genuinely trying to help you? Now, once you attribute good intentions, your nervous system calms down a little bit. You're less likely to be defensive. Get curious then. Is it true? And if it's true, what can I learn from it? Is there a new skill I need to learn to apply? And then, and most importantly, say thank you. Again, folks, it takes courage to show up and share how others occur for you. When people give you feedback, they're risking rejection. Acknowledge that giving feedback is a risk and that the people that truly care about you will be brave enough to tell you the truth. Acknowledge them for that. That should be met with a thank you, not with a fuck you. So remember, the path to achieving your goals is never a straight line. It's filled with all the twists and turns and successes and setbacks. But each step is a chance to learn more about yourself. And the more we're able to take feedback and really say, like, how does this apply to me? The quicker we're going to get to our goals. The more we can implement the powerful feedback and really take it on, the faster we move that needle towards our dreams. So if you've been prickly about taking feedback, I got a challenge for you. Take a 5-second pause, take a deep breath, ask yourself, is this true? And be honest. It'll change your life. That's all for today's episode of Authenticity Unleashed. I hope this conversation has inspired you to look at your goals and the feedback that you receive in a new light. If you like the show, please share the show. It's what helps grow the message. If you've got people that you think could benefit from this, please send it to them. If you'd share it on social media, I'd be ever grateful. Give it a like on YouTube and Spotify. I appreciate your listening to us. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And until next time, peace.